Hello, if you're watching this, it's because I'm on vacation. Normally, I give my new recruits a brief overview on how the digital circus works, how I operate. A little orientation meeting is done through Discord, but currently I'm away for a while. I'm also looking for apartments, which makes things very, very difficult. So this video is going to quickly skim over the policy document that I sent you. Like, I don't blame you if you didn't read the 110-page document. Like, this is what this video is for. I divided this video into, like, a few sections about how I want certain things done, like etiquette and sending in lines, all that fun stuff. So, the first thing I'm going to start with is what is Burning the Pages. So this is a fan fiction series of stories I wrote between the ages of 15 to 17 years old. The first season will be focusing on a, quote, original series called Elite Senshi, which is a crossover between Sailor Moon, Naruto, Death Note, and Winx Club. It's a complete mess. There's the Mary Sue, self-inserts, just like a whole lot of shit going on. And you'll be reading the story as it's written. There's a lot of hilarious typos in there, and I want you to read those phonetically and as they're written and not how they should be read out loud. So, for example, in episode 1, there's a character who's supposed to say insomnia, but the way little me spelled it was ismonia. And there are certain points in the script where I do let you edit at any given point, but there's certain parts of the script where I say do not edit because this is hilarious shit. I don't want you tampering with it. But I'll talk about more about that in the script layout, just because my layouts are a little bit different than the average script that you're probably used to. There's going to be a lot of fourth wall breaking and out of character moments. So if you ever see out of character in parentheses, that means break character, change the voice to your normal voice, and go nuts. So the first season of Burning the Pages is possibly going to have 10 episodes. Episode 4 is a two-parter, and I called it the most sexual episode because of all the sexual overtones. Most of the stuff I skipped over just because it's very uncomfortable to read as an adult, but like it's still PG-13, but I should get that out of the way. If you're like uncomfortable with tentacles, there are tentacles in episode 4, but it's still PG-13. The season finale of Burning the Pages is also going to be a two-parter, and that has way too many characters to even count. And there's also going to be 2 episodes of bonus material. One of the episodes is like jokes I cut out from previous episodes because a lot of Burning the Pages is me paraphrasing certain sections of the story, either because they were very boring or I just like ran out of time or like I didn't have that much commentary to give. But there's some like hilarious scenes that I cut out from the original story in Burning the Pages. So like this one episode will be like missed opportunity scenes I cut out basically. And then the other episode was, it's basically a rewrite of the series I wrote as a teenager, but me writing it at 23 years old. It's a lot nicer series with more comfortable dialogue to work with and not as many typos, hopefully. So, roles. So, character hierarchy is a bit weird because most of the time, like, you have main characters who have a certain line count and appear in certain episodes. But in Burning the Pages, it's a bit different just because the way that this show is structured. When I wrote these stories at 15, I had way too many characters to work with, and a lot of characters are forgotten about. So your character hierarchy is not only based off your line count, but the frequency. So for example, Toji, he should be considered a main character as he appears in nearly every episode, but his line count gets smaller and smaller as episodes go on. So like the first 2 episodes, he has like a good 15, 20 lines, and then by episode 10, he has like 1 or 2. But he's in the other episodes, and yet he's considered a minor reoccurring just for that particular reason. Like the Senshi, the 6 main Senshi are considered main characters. Like some of them like only have 10 lines averaged, but they're considered main characters just because of their frequency. All contributors will be listed at the end credits. In order to make the title sequence, you need to be on this team for at least a year and be a main character or a minor reoccurring. Now, Burning the Pages is a bit weird because the title sequence is super short, but for later episodes, I will make the voice actors in the title sequence just because now I know how dedicated you are and how committed you are on working with this project. So in my policy document, I have something called a dubious minor character. This is characters I'm not entirely certain if they will appear in more episodes or if they're only seen for a certain fixed set of episodes. So for example, like originally the character Evios was only supposed to be like a one-shot extra character, but in the missed opportunities, he does make another cameo, and that was something I wasn't expecting when I first made the series. So if it says dubious, that means I'm not entirely certain how frequent this character is going to appear in. So this section's all about audio and what your audio file should sound like or look like. First of all, I make it a rule that you have to label your files appropriately. I am the most unorganized person that you're ever going to meet, so if it's not labeled correctly, then I'm going to tell you to relabel it. How you should label your scripts will be in the script. It's on the first page. It's over the deadline and below the title. That's where it's located. So if you don't know what to name your file, it's there on the top of the script. Your files must be an MP3 or an M4A. If you don't send it in correctly, I'm going to tell you to reformat it. I prefer that you send in your lines through Facebook Messenger. There have been cases where like the file is too big, in which case send your lines through Google Drive and then send it through Messenger. So that way, like, you still sent it to me. The other way you can do it is through email, but this is like the worst case scenario. And my receiving lines email is different than my script email. If you send it to Muitachi, I'm not going to receive it. That's my spam account, and I will never find your file if you do send it to that account. So the email I have is jkschaefer@gmail. And if you do email me, please private message me saying that you did that, because I don't check my email that often, and sometimes my notifications don't go off, so I don't always know if you sent me that file. And your audio must consist of 3 takes to prevent reshoots. So what does takes mean? So takes means how many times you say the same line over and over. Most of the time in film, especially when it comes to like animated project, they have you do like 3 takes minimum. So if the line is "I love you," you say "I love you" 3 times. If you send me 1 take per line, I'm gonna be really mad, and you're gonna do like a lot of reshoots. So please have at least 3 takes. No outtakes, no bloopers, no coughing, no sneezing. If you aren't sure how to edit your audio, please let me know, because for a limited time, up until the end of August, I am teaching newbie voice actors how to basically audio edit, just like basic things like cutting out outtakes like that. You just gotta let me know what program you're using to record, and I will find you a tutorial. The program I use for audio editing is called GarageBand. It's free for Macs, but you won't get it for PC, unfortunately. But that's the program I use. But if you're using something different, please let me know, and I will send you a proper tutorial on how to do that. And the reason why I ask everyone to edit their own audio is because I hate audio editing. I have someone edit my master audio because I hate doing it so much, but I will do all the character audio. It's a tedious process, so I prefer that everyone is capable of editing by themselves. But again, if you aren't sure, I'm going to find a tutorial. Just tell me the program. Is it Audacity? Is it Audition? And I will find you something that will hopefully work for you. Your deadline is determined by your line count, your universal line count. So if you're playing multiple characters, it's the sum of all the lines you have and not how many character lines you have. So for example, if you're playing like 2 characters and the line total you have is 28, you're qualified to do the over 15 line deadline. So the over 15 deadline is a month, and then under 15 is 2 weeks, or sometimes 2.5 weeks, depending on my mood. If for whatever reason that you're in the under 15 deadlines group and you're unable to submit your lines by that day, please let me know ahead of time, like not last minute, like at least give me a 3-day notice saying that, oh yeah, I didn't get around to doing it, I have a job, I have to take care of kids, I have school, and I will put you in the over 15 group. If you communicate with me, I'm not going to penalize you, but like if you don't tell me until last minute, I'm not going to be happy. And you can find your line count in different parts of the script. You can find it at the script outline, which will tell you how many lines you have per scene. And underneath the outline, you'll find the cast listing, which will tell you your universal line count. For your first project, you're not allowed to miss a deadline. You will be kicked off without any sort of negotiation unless it's an emergency circumstance. And if it is an emergency circumstance, you need to communicate with me. I'm all about communication. I communicate openly with my team, and I expect you to do so with me as well. So if you're like careless and forget the deadline, well, you're off the team, and I don't want to work with somebody who cannot commit to deadlines. So after your first project, if you were to miss a deadline, there's something called freebies. You're only granted 3 per year. If you're on this team longer than a year, you don't get 6, you don't get 5, you have a maximum of 3. If you use one this year and you're still on the team next year, it restores back to 3, no more. And if you lose all 3, you're off the team. If you use a freebie, there's usually consequences involved. I'll cast understudies. I will probably make less time for you in rehearsal. So I really request that you send in your lines on time, you show up to rehearsals when you schedule them, and you communicate openly with me, because I communicate with my team often, and I expect you to do the same as well. Also, the digital circus is a long-term commitment, but you're free to drop out at any time. This is an unpaid project, and I know it's an unfair request. If you are working full-time and are unable to commit, I'm not going to force you to be on this team. So if you feel that there's too many obstacles in your life right now, feel free to drop out, drop me a message saying that you're very busy and you're not able to commit to this sort of project. I understand, and I'm not going to hold it against you. Feel free to audition again when you have more free time. Also, when you send an audio, I won't give feedback right away, as I'm usually waiting for the majority to send in their lines. This is because I want it to sound conversational and like an actual dialogue, and not like a one-sided conversation. I will skim through your audio when I can, like a little after that you sent it, so that I can check that if you're missing any lines and I can point them out, because if you are missing lines, it counts as your first take. So if you're missing lines and it's past the deadline, well, you're already getting penalized because you're missing lines. There are something called vocal gestures and talking in unison. These counts as lines. Vocal gestures are things that aren't really words. They're more like sounds that you make with your mouth, like an ooh or ugh or an eek, something like that, and it's not really a coherent word. You'll often find these in parentheses. Sometimes they'll be with dialogue, sometimes they'll be in between dialogue. I often see voice actors skip over those parts, but those counts as your first take if you did not have that in your first take. Also, talking in unison. If you're missing a talking in unison line, this really applies to the Senshi characters. It really doesn't apply to that many other characters unless otherwise noted. Like, there are some scenes in later episodes where like all the voice actors out of character will say something in unison. So make sure that you have those lines in, because those do count against you if you are missing them from your first audio. And I will check like when I can, because I'm also a full-time student, so like my availability is kind of like sparse as well, but I will make an effort to try to see if your lines are all there, and if you're missing one before the deadline, I will let you know, and please have that in before the deadline. If you've been voice acting for a while, my scripts are a bit different than what you're probably used to. There's a lot of symbols that a lot of people don't often use, and I have my own unique little system. This is because I only started directing like a little less than a year ago, and I'm still kind of new to this. And I figured that my voice actors really like color coding. Like, everything I do is color coded. Everyone has their own little color, and it's pretty. So underneath the title of the episode, you're gonna find what to label your file and your deadline, and what is called a file quota. Your file quota is always going to be 1 audio file per character. If you're playing 1 character, I expect you to have only 1 MP3. If you're playing 2 characters, you should have 2 MP3s. It should not be per take, it's only per character. So, because I hate audio editing, I want you to have as less files as possible, so 1 character per MP3. So underneath the headers, you'll have a script layout. This is kind of like a table of contents, but there's no page numbers. The only scene that will have a page number is the first scene. And the reason why these don't have page numbers is because I'm constantly updating with animation notes, which tend to eat up pages. And then it'll be constantly updating, and I don't want to have to do that. So Only scene 1 will have a page number. The first few sections of the script is like how to send in your lines, because I notice a lot of voice actors, even if they've been on this team for a while, still have trouble sending them in correctly. And so there's like a guide to do that, and there's a name pronunciation guide if Japanese is not your first language, which I'm pretty sure it isn't, but you've seen anime, so you know how to pronounce certain names, hopefully. But if you don't, that's what the pronunciation guide's for. Oh, yeah, and for typos, I put the pronunciation right next to the typo. So, name pronunciations will be, like, usually in the first section of the script, but typos will be right next to the typo itself. You're allowed to make your own notes to the script. There are certain symbols that indicate do not spell check, and I think I've mentioned this already, and that's the underlines. That means do not spell check, do not grammar check, I want you to read as is. If a line is highlighted in yellow, that means I want you to redo it, either because it was missing from your first file or I want it done a little bit differently. This is the world of film, and oftentimes things aren't perfect, so be prepared to do a reshoot because that's part of filming. So rehearsals are done through Discord, and they're strongly encouraged. They're not mandatory. They used to be mandatory, but working with a large team, especially with people in the UK, it's kind of difficult meeting everyone's availability. So that's why it's strongly encouraged. Now, before we have rehearsal meetings, I send out a Google form asking, like, taking inventory of everyone's availability. The questionnaire does have a deadline, but you're not going to be penalized if you don't fill it out. Though you'll be interrogated by me if, like, you did want to do a rehearsal and you didn't fill it out. And there's a certain way I want you to fill out the questionnaire. So I'll ask you for the days of availability and a time block. If you're unavailable for a certain day, just write NA, like not available. Do not give me an excuse on why you're not available. I just want NA, and that will tell me that, okay, this person's not available that day. And I want you to give me a time zone, preferably Eastern Standard Time, but I understand if you don't know how to convert that, that's fine. But give me a time zone, because time is not universal. Because what time is in the UK is a lot different than it is right now. It's 2:30 right now, and I'm in New York, and it's probably like 7:30 back in England right now. So yeah, time's not universal, so please add a time zone and give me a time block. So times that you are available. This is so I can schedule you in for a rehearsal meeting. The rehearsals tend to be an hour, sometimes 2 hours long. I try not to make it more than 2 hours long, just because I'm a busy person. I'm sure most of you guys are as well. There are multiple rehearsal meetings because there are so many people in this group, so you only need to attend one if you did schedule. So in the questionnaire, if it asks you for a time block, I'm basically asking you for an X and a Y variable. So for example, a proper answer is I'm available between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. or anytime after 6 p.m. or anytime before 3 p.m. Those are valid answers. If you only give me like one time, I'm going to assume that you're only available for an hour, which kind of makes scheduling on your part very difficult, because then I might have trouble fitting you in. There have been cases where, like, there have been people who are outliers when it comes to availability. This group consists of like 20 plus people, so there are like occasional people who are like available in weird hours. But most of the time, the only ones who get one-on-one rehearsals are main characters, just because they have the most amount of lines. If you're an extra or a minor recurring character and your times just not meet up with anybody's or mine, you'll be exempt for rehearsal. Just have your lines in on time. Rehearsals also start on the dot through Discord. If you are late, we've already started without you, so have the script ready because we've already started. I will not be providing any tech support if you do not know how to use Discord during a rehearsal meeting, so I suggest that you come in 15 minutes early so I could help you. Because I run a large group, and it's kind of wasting everyone's time if I were to just help one person do something else than what we're supposed to be doing. And if you don't show up to a scheduled Discord meeting, this is considered a freebie. So please, please, please show up if you did schedule. If there's a conflict, please let me know ahead of time. Do not let me know last minute. Do not let me know the day after the meeting was happening, because I will not make plans to do a one-on-one with you. Also, I should probably mention this. So, Discord, we had one case not too long ago where some random person just joined the chat. He was not part of my voice acting team at all. So, if your Discord name is different than your normal handle or your Facebook name, please let me know that you're part of the team so that way I don't kick you. You have 48 hours to state who you are. And if your name is Burger Town and I don't know that you're Bob Smith, I'm going to kick you if you don't tell me who you are. So emergencies are bound to happen. They're part of life. And if emergencies were to happen, I have certain things that I request voice actors request that I do to accommodate them. The accommodations I have are extra time, script revisions, temporary leave, and full leave. So extra time, I cannot give you longer than a week, sometimes two, depending on what month it is, just because the team is so large and I like to get audio done like immediately. So that is something you can request, but like, please let me know when you can have your lines in by then. So temporary leave means you won't be in one or probably more projects, though this means temporary. You need to let me know when you're coming back. If you leave the group chat, I'm going to assume that you're no longer part of this team, so don't do that. If I cast an understudy, they have a certain amount of projects before they take that role from you, so you need to let me know ahead of time when you're ready to voice act again. The understudy has 2 projects to be in the show for, but if it's the 3rd project and you're still not ready, then you're basically off the team. You can come back when you're ready, but that person basically took that role from you. Script revisions, this may not be applicable to main characters. This is mostly applicable to like minor characters and extras. This just means like I will like cut out a line or two so that way like you have less to work with. Though depending on the vitality of a certain scene, I may not be able to revise it. So it really depends on how valuable that scene is to me or the episode. And then there's full leave, which is voluntarily dropping out. I won't be mad if you do so. Feel free to come back at any time. And I wish you good luck if you did drop out. And it was nice knowing you. Well, it was short-lived. So I have a different understudy policy depending on what kind of understudy you are. I'm only going to go over 2 of them. My policy document has like 6 of them, but I'm only going to go over 2 just because I feel that they're the most important. So on call means they have shorter deadlines. This is usually because the main actor forgot the deadline or is having an emergency and is unable to send in their lines, and I need someone immediately. You aren't given a rehearsal unless you really want to, but like I need your lines in like immediately, and that's basically what you do. You basically wait until that person forgets a deadline. I contact you. Here's the script. You have this amount of time. Please send it in immediately. So that's how on-call understudies work. Temporary leave, I've mentioned this, like, if somebody were to take your place, and if you play, like, a minor reoccurring character, they're allowed 2 projects, but if you're not back by the 3rd project, they've taken your role from you. So please, please, please communicate with me saying that you're ready to come back before they take that role from you. So these are policies about Facebook Messenger that I have regarding this team. So group chat is for announcements only. Please do not post like character-specific information. For example, how should I make the coach sound? Or how should I make Toji sound? Just because this does not apply to everyone. If you have a question about the deadline, you're free to ask. Or if you don't know how to send in lines, feel free to ask in the group chat. But if it only applies to you, put it in private messenger just because group chat is for announcements and not everyone reads the group chat. So I want everyone to make sure that they're aware of what's going on, and I don't want them to be confused with spam. Anything that isn't project related, please put in private chat just because spam reasons. And the best way to get a hold of me through Messenger, I don't check my Discord, I don't email that often, so if you need to get a hold of me, use Facebook Messenger. And lastly, about this little section is I post regular reminders about deadlines in the group chat, so you'll never forget when a deadline is. And these last few things are kind of like unsorted information that you should probably know. Like, they didn't really fit in any other category of this video, so it's kind of like unsorted. So there is something called California season. This is when I go home to California, which is what I'm kind of, So there's something called California season. This actually starts tomorrow for me and goes until the 23rd. This means I won't be able to have any Discord meetings until I come back, just because my home life is not that great. And I don't want you getting involved with my personal life because that is none of your business. I don't want you getting involved with my drama. So usually around this time, if I ask you to do a reshoot, I will give you audio commentary, giving you feedback, just because I cannot give you feedback through Discord. So there won't be any rehearsals if I am in California. These tend to be like 2 weeks, maybe a week. They aren't that long like they used to be, but like, yeah, around this time, no Discord, unfortunately. I'll still answer my Facebook Messenger, but I just can't have any phone calls or Skype calls or any of that. So if you aren't sure how to do something, there's something in my policy document that's just tutorials I made for the voice acting team. So if you don't know how to send in your lines, if you don't know how Discord works, it's in the policy document. There's videos I made. It will send you to the YouTube video that I made for you, and you'll know how to do things. If you still aren't sure, please ask me and I'll make you a personalized tutorial, because that's what I'm good at nowadays. But there's a new one that I recently added. I have not made a video for this one yet because I haven't had time to, and it's called Table of Contents. This is a Google Drive add-on feature that's really great if you play extra characters and don't want to read the entire script. So you can jump from scene 4 to scene 9 without reading the entire part in between. It's very easy to download, it's free, and it only works for laptops or computers. It will not work for your phone. You just click on add-ons and go to get add-ons, and on my page it's usually the first page when it pops up, but if you can't find it, type in table of contents and it will download itself. And if you still can't find it in the document, like you're at the script and you still can't find your lines, go to add-ons once again and click on table of contents, and you should get a menu of all the scenes that are in this script. So then you can jump to scene 9 to scene 11 and not read the entire thing. Some other handy resources I recommend. There's one if you don't know how to convert to MP3s, and that is called All to MP3. It's free, it's for Mac and PC and Linux. Though I don't use a Windows, so I don't know if it's safe to use, because I've heard that like freeware is not the safest thing to use for a Windows computer. So be sure that you have antivirus software installed on your computer. But I like it it's free. Like if you have a MOV file that you aren't sure how to convert to an MP3, which yes, has happened before. Someone sent me an MOV file instead of an MP3 and didn't know how to convert it. Yeah, you can do it through there, or there's a beautiful site, a program I use that isn't free, but I recommend, like I strongly recommend. It's called MacX Converter. It's for Mac and PC. It's like $30, like a flat rate. You can like convert YouTube videos and make MOVs to MP3s. You can do like a whole lot of shit on it, and it's like amazing, and I totally recommend it, despite like it costing money, but it's worth the price. And lastly, don't ad-lib unless the script says so. There will be points where it will say you may ad-lib here, or feel free to ad-lib, but if it doesn't say to ad-lib, don't do it, just because it's going to ruin the continuity. But yeah, that is all the policies I have. Feel free to communicate with me if you aren't sure how to do something, if you aren't sure how to send in lines still. I am always there to help, and I look forward to working with all of you.